Well, friends, I am so excited to introduce some awesome people here. I feel like all my friends are in the room. I ended up writing As Sure as the Stars with Jenny, but Brian, her husband, was the one that roped us roped me into it, which I'm so thankful. But we have our two narrators for the audiobook. We have Mackenzie Capa and Jim Rupert. So welcome, friends. I'm so glad that we're all together.
Very fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, Jim, why don't you start just by telling us a little bit about yourself? And I've known Jim a long time.
A long time. I was thinking about Tricia, it's been 20 years that we've known each other. Yeah, I'm married to the world's most amazing woman. I think it's you guys on a small I live on a small lake in central Washington state, and I've lived here about 10 years. I have two grown sons. And back in 2006, when Tricia and I met, is actually the one that discovered me and
I discovered him.
put me on the road to becoming a novelist, which was my biggest dream since I was a kid. So that's a little bit about me.
And then you do a lot of audiobooks.
I do a lot of audiobooks. I think I've done about 60 at this point and stumbled into it. I did my own audiobooks for my own novels and discovered I absolutely love doing it. And then I had author friends start saying, "Hey, Jim, could you do my book?" And so that's how I kind of backed into it. It's just I've loved doing it.
Yeah. All right, Mackenzie.
Well, I also live in Washington State, but over on the east side of the state, I have four kids and then two bonus kids. My oldest is in college this year, which is crazy, and then my youngest is almost in middle school, so it just feels like it's a wild time with lots of changes. And I am also a project manager for a company. I work for a couple of different companies, but then I also do a lot of most of my voiceover work is with an e-learning company. And so I've been on contract with them for a couple of years and I teach all kinds of different lessons to every age from kindergarten through high school. So I do algebra and then all the way down to like little English lessons and all kinds of things. But I've done audiobooks with Tricia for a number of years. I think I found Tricia I think it was 17 years ago when I started reading the first book I ever read of yours was Blue Like Play-Doh,
Oh,
and just totally felt connected to you. And then we ended up actually connecting over the years and got to meet in person one time, which was really fun. And yeah, so I've done a few different audiobooks with Trisha, and she brought me on for this one. And it was very exciting, very different change of pace because most of the audiobooks I've done for Trisha have been Amish love stories. So this got to be like a little bit more spicy, not spicy, but like more personality, I guess.
yes.
Like it was very, very fun to be able to do.
Yeah, it was so funny. So when I guess the project manager helping us get these books published, Jonathan asked, like, who do you want for the audiobook? I'm like, my dream team, Jim and Mackenzie. And so I reached out to them and both of them said yes. And I was just so excited because I love them both. And also Jim did my World War II steampunk, which is completely different than this. It has like mafia, which Jenny and I were just and Brian were at the Mafia
Yes.
Museum in Hot Springs,
Oh,
Arkansas.
no
So we
kidding.
were just there. I held the Tommy gun, Jim.
Wow.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
anyway, but it's so fun that we're all able to connect. So I would love to hear from Jenny and Brian. Like, what were your thoughts? Because I know them and they basically trusted me on the voices. So what were your thoughts? Well, sorry, Jenny, first, when you first started listening to the audiobook of As Sure as the Stars.
So right off the bat, Mackenzie, just like your voice and the emotion and just the like the very beginning, I have to tell you, like just going through the acknowledgments, the dedication, I just all the people, the names that were involved in putting this book together, I literally got teary-eyed. There have been so many people that have heard our story and supported us. Just your voice and the dramatic like emotion that you put into the words, the way you enunciate. I had to stop it for a minute. I was like, this is real. This is really happening. We've been talking about this for a year and a half. I was driving. I almost had to pull off the side of the road. And it still makes me like this really happened. So it was just a very tender, powerful moment that it came full circle. And Jake's voice, you're perfect
Brian.
for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Brian. So what was it like having your story be told? Jim telling your story as Jake, Brian. What was that like?
Well, first of all, I have to make a confession here. I didn't actually read the book. I listened to it.
So
That was my
all
That
these
first time
counts.
passes
actually.
all these passes where I'm like, "Brian, do you like this? Do you like this?"
I mean, I would like glance at stuff and I would like, I mean, I think I read a little bit like here and there. I mean, I read the script, like the movie
No.
script we had, but on the play, I'm more of an audible kind of guy. So I was like, I'll listen to it when it comes
So his
available.
story was
And
published or yeah, getting published before he even, like, listened to the whole thing.
He would stop it and
that is
pause and be
true.
like, "Wait a minute, da 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 da." And I'm like, "It's in there now."
Too late.
I really liked it though. I really liked it. And I love the emotion that both of you had in when you were talking and just the different scenes and you really brought it to life. That was really good. So that was, yeah, that was, it's my takeaway on it. It was my first time going through the whole thing.
I think one of the things we'll start with Jim first, but that I loved is that Jake is kind of like rough exterior, but super tender with his kids. And I think that came across really good, like just being a good dad and like
Yeah.
just the connection he had with his kids, I think was, I don't even know how you do that. Jim, talk about that for a minute because I've listened to a lot of your books, more speculative fiction stuff. So your books that you've done, and then like speculative, like that. What's that demon book? You know what I'm talking about?
Soul's Gate or
No,
might
the
have been
other one that you did for, you know what I'm talking about? The different layers of.
Brian's book. Yeah.
So like you do different voices for that are like gritty
Yeah.
and scary, and then but with this book with Jake, it's like this tenderness came through too, which was really cool.
Yeah, so so I play guitar, right? So that was an immediate connection. It's like, okay, I got to become Jake. And what I did in my mind is I thought about my own kids and when they were that age. And the other thing is, like I said, I hit the mega lottery when I married Darcy. I got my dream girl the first time around, but I took myself because there was a gal in college that we were thinking we were going to get married. And so I put myself back what if I didn't have a good relationship with Darcy? What if this gal and I saw each other again? And I really tried to put myself into that mindset if she was back in my life and it worked, right? And so that's what I was trying to do, Brian. I was trying to be you and feel all those emotions. And that's it. So that's how it worked for me.
That's so good. And then with Mackenzie, like with my Amish books, you had to do like some kind of German accent type of stuff. And but do you also so we have Kelly, I almost said Jenny. We have Kelly in the book, but you also did Amy in the book,
Yeah.
which I've had a number of people tell me that Amy's their favorite character. So I'm like, sorry that with Kelly's not the favorite character, but they loved Amy and I don't know, it's like that's kind of hard too because it's one voice, but you're doing two kind of different personalities. And Amy's kind of crazy out there. So
Yeah, it was fun. Though it's always fun to like have all the different voices and especially when you're playing a lot of different women because there's also the, assistant at the or the paralegal in the office and like there's a lot of those different voices and so you have to like figure out how to give them a little bit of nuance. But I just kept coming back to Amy being like higher energy, bubbly, like just and then I got to kind of play more into like the sarcasm and like the darkness a little bit with the Kelly character. I've been through a divorce and been been in a courtroom more times than I would prefer to have been. I feel like I could be a lawyer at this point. And so there was a lot of that that felt very familiar to me in reading it, where there was even, I think it was in chapter 25, where, and I'm not going to get choked up now, but I'm going to be fine. It was when Kelly had just come out of the courtroom with a gal and was telling her she was so strong. And I like lost it when I was in the recording booth because I've been on the other side of that and not necessarily had it work out very well, like
Yeah.
still in and out of court almost a decade later. And so it was it was just really powerful to get to be the lawyer part of that and tell someone that they're being strong. And I just like when I went back, even when I was editing it, I was like, oh, I gotta get rid of that. I gotta cut that out really quick because it was like, oh, I don't want to listen to like myself get like choked up about it. But there were some really poignant parts throughout the book that felt very familiar that I was able to kind of like step into that feeling of knowing what that's like. And so being able to convey that, I think. So
Okay, I got a question for Mackenzie because I, I I'm a hopeless romantic. I am as much as I love Braveheart and Gladiator and all these movies. I'm It's romantic. And Mackenzie, I fell in love with these people. I really did. And then I thought, wait a minute, these are real people. It was the coolest thing. Did you have
Yeah. Yeah, well, and there was so much of it where I'm like, okay, I know we've got different names, I know like whatever, but now I need to go meet them to figure out like,
Yeah.
okay, guys, what's real here? Like, what's the real? So,
Yeah,
like,
right?
are there parts that like I want the goods now? Like, is
Yeah.
everything we're reading like what is this real?
Jenny, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Bryan.
Yeah, the real part. So my dad's job was different. He was actually over this huge agricultural project in the state of Alaska, like 4,000 acres. And he went up there to create, like, to build a milk plant to get fresh produce and milk in the state rather than barging it from Seattle. So we lived at the edge of town. That was real. We did have a generator for 2 years because they didn't have power lines out to where we lived. But we did have a really big house. In fact, we had church at our house for the first year we were there. And so every Saturday we had to clean our house and make it appropriate for, to bring people in so it can be like a sacred place. And so I had to, in my bedroom, I had a bedroom with walls and not a blanket. And I loved how Tricia put that vibe in there. I thought that was kind of like Molly Ringwald-ish. She had a sheet for a blanket in the bedroom.
Yeah.
So I had Duran Duran posters covered on every single wall. And my mom would make me take them down for Sunday services because my bedroom was a classroom. So I had Boy George, Prince, those types of things. So I'd take them down every Saturday night. And as soon as church was over, I'd put them right back up.
And she wore the jelly shoes.
I did wear jelly shoes, skipping class in the middle of the winter to the mall. I did do that. And
The
what
missed
else?
phone call. We don't want to, if you haven't read the book, we don't want to give too much away. That was true. Like, so
That was really sad.
a lot of the story arc was true. So we kind of changed kids' ages,
Yeah, and then I'm an
house
empty
stuff.
nester. I have 2 kids, and Bryan came along with his 7 kids. And he's got grandkids too. I don't have grandkids yet, so that's a little different.
Bryan, what about you? What things were the same or what things were maybe different? You don't have a smoothie shop.
No, I don't have a smoothie shop. I'm a coach though. I am a coach. That's how I made my income, was coaching people. I was not a guitar player. I mean, even though I kind of dabble a little bit, I play piano and I do write songs. In fact, I'm
cool.
in the process of writing another one. But when Jenny and I met, well, Ben, Ben, Jerry is
Really Jerry in real life.
yeah, and actually, Jerry Ben was a football player, was a quarterback, so that part's true. I have 7 kids, but I only had 2 at the time that were home. And what's interesting is, I did have a big house at one point. I got a divorce, but I actually was in an apartment when Jenny met me. And I had the kids come to the apartment and go back and forth. So there's definitely some differences. I mean, the trip to Vegas was all true.
The
The
plane.
band, the playing, meeting the band. And actually, what's kind of funny about that is actually we met the band and we were talking to Def Leppard and telling our story a little bit. And when we were leaving, Jenny had this really cute outfit on. When we were leaving, all the band like looked at her, like going out. And I looked at them and I'm like, okay. And then I went out and I go, well, you got your choice. You can either stay with me or go with the band, apparently. So there's a lot of, I would say,
The photo shoot was true.
well, okay, yeah. Yeah, the photo shoot was
That's-
true. And I
I'm
actually,
sorry.
and
That is great.
and I actually did see her for the first time with a bunch of makeup on.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and it even gets funnier because who is the girl in the book? The girl that I make out with?
Me?
Bridget.
Bridget.
Bridget. Okay. So
We
Bridget.
changed that name several times.
So,
yeah,
so
Bridget.
that did happen. It was a different situation, but it was
bad.
But the reason why the makeup kind of freaked me out is because she had a lot of makeup on, and I remember coming out of the movie theater. Anyway,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of truth to a lot of it. But it's obviously there's some fiction in there. I would say 80, maybe 90%
Wow.
of it is actually true. Like it actually did the phone call, the missed call.
So sad.
And then leaving 32 years, not talking to her at all. And then her being a paralegal, not a lawyer. My friend, Jerry, Ben, said, you need to call her. I said, why would I call her? I haven't talked to her for 32 years. He says, because she's a paralegal in the same state you live, and her firm can help you get your attorney. And my ex was already like getting attorneys. So all that
Attorney.
shopping. So all that was true. And then meeting her at the fair for the first time was was at a restaurant and she had all this makeup on. The second night though, she actually came to the fair where I had a booth, and
That was
that was true. And that was the moment when I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know what these feelings are.
Were you shocked by these feelings coming up, Brian? Were you
Oh, big time. Oh, like I was like, I actually, because so Jenny was just going through a divorce. I had no idea. She was
No.
like divorced within a month. It took me about a year.
Well,
Hmm.
mine had
And
started before.
she had started, yeah, his started, but I didn't know all that until after we started talking about things. But I was still, I'd filed and everything, and but it took a while. And so when I started to have these feelings, like at the fair,
was
I
the
was like,
devil.
it was the devil. Yeah, it was the devil. Like I can't have these feelings. Like this is not
what are
right.
these?
This is not right. And it was actually I'm writing a song about those feelings right now. I've actually just wrote one that doing up in a studio. No, there's a lot of reality to it.
And I was kind of like, should we put me in as an attorney or paralegal? Because there's like a
Yeah,
fine
because
line between ethical boundaries with client versus attorney relationship.
we
But,
took
but
those boundaries quite far.
we we thought it would add more drama to the story
Yeah,
because
it did.
Kelly's trying to make partner and she's like got these feelings and she doesn't want to lose him again, but her whole life is her career. So we kind of left that in there and as the advice from the script writers too.
Yeah.
So I think Tricia wrote it in a very appropriate manner. But I do have to say, when I got a text from Debbie, who is Amy, out of the blue, would it be okay if Jerry gave Brian Drollinger your phone number? I was like, what? And I texted her right back. This is exact text. Where the hell were you in 1989? And why does he want me for help now? She was like,
It
LOL.
was true.
And
That's
she's
It
like,
was
great.
but
that
he's
was
really
that was true.
nice, Jenny. You guys just need to talk about it. There's nothing to talk about. Anyway, so I called my daughter, who's a mental health therapist, and I asked her, she's like, Mom, just be black and white. You probably don't even know his voice. You haven't talked to him forever. Just, give him what he needs and send him on his way type thing. So
Yeah.
that was the plan.
That was
That
the
was the
plan.
plan. That was the plan.
2
And
minutes and I'm done.
by the way, the Vegas thing actually happened after we were married.
Yeah, that was after we got married.
Because I told her, I said she loves rocking out, and it was Def Leppard, and I'm like, I'm not taking you to a concert until a Def Leppard concert.
You thought I would run off with the band.
So and it actually was a private plane. It was a jet that we took out from. So we're in Sedona actually.
We should talk about your mom.
Okay, so that part it's true. What happened? She actually died a few weeks before we got married, and we went down to Arizona because that's where she was living at the time. So we thought we'd do that before she died. She did have cancer, and Jerry's mom, Ben's, did pass away before that.
So Jake's mom and Ben's mom were best friends.
Friends.
It was beautiful how Tricia intertwined and wrote Jerry's mom in there. And
Yeah.
Jerry and Debbie were like, whoa. So it because they're no longer with us. And Brian's mom and dad are like Jerry's adopted parents now because his parents are gone. So Jerry's like,
Yeah.
great, I just have, Lonnie left. And then we'll really be orphans, Brian. That's what he says. Because Brian and Jerry have been friends since they were 9 years
Since
old. And Debbie and I did meet. We were locker
in
partners,
Alaska.
brand new. We were both brand new. And so my last name was Smith. Her last name was Short. So S's. And they put us in the same lockers. And one little interesting thing about me is I had been in Alaska. The book starts our junior year. I actually moved up my freshman year and did homeschool for half a semester before I went into Wasilla because we lived 45 miles out of town.
From the school.
I had to get up at 4:30 every morning just to get to school on time. And then back home, that's a lot of drive time. So I got really good with 80s music, listening to the radio and cassette tape. But
Cassette
I
tapes,
was
yeah.
actually kind of dating. I was 15 and I was kind of dating a 21-year-old. He looked like Nick Rose from Duran Duran. He worked at Kenny's shoe store and Carr's grocery store bagging groceries. Like, I thought that was cool. Debbie met him, and after we skipped school, we walked down to Kenny's shoe store. We're going back to the school, and she says, and she said it just like this, there's a dance on Friday, and, my boyfriend, he has a friend. He's really cute and he has a really nice car. And I think you guys would get along. So I think he should come to the dance because he's more our age, you know? So that's where that happened. That's where I met Brian. I was like, okay, he has a nice car. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
and
when
I
you're
definitely
15, that's
wasn't.
what cute and nice guy.
Uh-huh. And I definitely wasn't Nick Rhodes. I no makeup
No,
on this
no.
guy.
And and I had just watched The Outsiders on VHS at my friend's house. And when he walked in, he was wearing jeans, tennis shoes. He wasn't wearing like we called them John Taylor shoes or dress shoes. He didn't have a Don Johnson wannabe like jacket on with shoulder pads, no makeup. He just walked in like with a white t-shirt and a members only jacket. And I was like, wow, he reminded me of Matt Dillon. I was like, he's a real boy. He doesn't have all the makeup. And
Yeah.
there we go.
It was so fun.
And we did write, we wrote letters to each other for 2 years, back and forth every month. I served a mission for my church in California, and she went back to Utah to go to school, and we wrote
Totally.
back and forth. And my parents had moved from Alaska down to Oregon. And when I got home, I wanted to go see her, and I actually went down to the Salt Lake, like literally within a week or two of being home. And I went down there to shop some songs that I had written on my mission. So I was at a studio and she didn't know what studio it was. She thought she knew where I was. And when the disconnected phone thing happened, she walked up to where she thought I was. And I was actually about 3 blocks away. She was looking all over for me and then went to work.
And it was
So,
raining.
and it was raining.
We talked the night before, and he said, I'm here with family. I don't have a car. I'm carpooling from
Yeah,
Oregon.
carpooling.
We're
I have a
picking
car.
up other students to take them back home for Christmas break. I'll call you in the morning to tell you what time and where to meet me. And I said, perfect, because I work downtown at the mall at the recording studio I thought he was going to be at. And so the next morning came, there was no phone call. And I'm like, I went to call my mom in Alaska and the phone was dead. So I ran across the hall to my neighbors. Is your phone line working? Because they were doing construction on First Avenue. And I thought maybe they hit the phone line. No, they had a dial tone. So I called the operator and she was really snarky. Oh, your number's disconnected due to non-payment of service. I'm like, what? There was 6 of us rooming together. The one roommate had all the utilities in her name. That's how you used to do it back in the 80s. This is 1989. And all of a sudden it started making sense. We were all working at the mall for $5 an hour. Lisa was coming home with shopping bags from Nordstrom's. Oh, bomber jackets from Lerner, New York. It was all the thing. And we're like, and we've been writing her personal checks. We didn't write it to US West Communications for 3 months. That morning is when they disconnected my landline. Immediately, I'm like, Brian's going to think I'm playing games again.
Yep.
So I got dressed. I had,
Yep.
and Tricia knows this, I had this really cute black leather
Very good.
skirt. And I've been saving it. I had put it on layaway and I put it on and I ran down 3 blocks in the rain, the Cathedral of the Madeleine. It was noon, it was tolling, the bell was tolling. It was this whole dramatic scene, like out of a movie. It was like you couldn't make it up. And I got down there outside the building I thought he was in. You had to have a key code to get in. It was secure. And I waited outside for a while. It started raining. I walked back in the building. I stood in the doorway and I never saw him. I went to work, looked in the white pages when I got to work if there was any Drollingers in the area. No Drollingers in the whole Salt Lake Valley. I'm like, thinking that maybe it's his mom's side of the family. I didn't know her maiden name. So I flew to Alaska for Christmas 2 days later. And while I was there, my mom's like, well, surely he'll write you. He has your address and he'll wonder what happened. So I couldn't call my roommates to see if I had Mel because they didn't have a phone. So I had to wait. While I was there, the volcano erupted and I couldn't get back to Utah till the middle of January. It was just like waiting and waiting. And I get there, nothing.
And she ghosted
We're
me, so
done.
I was out.
So,
She ghosted me. I was out.
So, Mackenzie, that scene where he drives off a cliff at Point Mackenzie Bluff into the Connect Arm below, that was true. In my mind, he died in his black GT Escort.
That was a cool car.
Go back.
It was.
How much is true? A lot of it was.
Yeah.
A lot of it's true. Yeah.
And it wasn't, they didn't talk again for 32.
No communication at all, except our friends who,
Amy
and Ben, they didn't stay married or they didn't stay boyfriend, girlfriend. They actually got married
They
to
had
other
a
people and
they-
they had
yeah,
the
they
same
left
kind
us.
of thing that happened. They've been married now for 10 years. So when they got back together and they married, Jenny's her friend and Jerry's my friend, but we didn't say anything about about
they
any,
kind of.
well, Debbie did. Amy
She
did.
would
Yeah,
send
she's
me
kind of.
emails.
Yeah.
Look, you should be on this webinar. Brian Drollinger's leading it. He's a health and business coach with Take Shape for Life or something. I'm like, So my daughter's in the Philippines right now, da 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 da, just avoid it. And I actually told her at one point, I don't want to hear anything about Bryan.
Wow.
You guys are friends and we'll just
And,
in our, I'm married, he's married. I don't want anything to do with him. And they were very respectful with that.
just so you know, though, this is the thing. Amy came to a convention and
Oh yeah.
actually told me, said, you should talk to Jenny. I'm like, why would I talk to Jenny? I don't and she's like, well, you guys should work it out. And I'm like, what? She's mad at you or something. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
It
I
was
just like
not
I kind of pushed it off. I didn't, I was like, anyway, so
Yeah. And then you gotta dramatize that, and I actually got to interview,
kind of funny.
the real Ben and Amy in real life,
fun.
Jenny and
Very good.
Bryan, and their
Yep.
personalities, you guys got them exactly right, which was and
Cool.
Jerry/Ben did say,
Yeah.
"Send him to Jenny or Kelly,
Yes.
'cause I need to break from talking to him
Yep.
all the time."
So he was actually trying to hunt for moose in Alaska. And Bryan kept calling him. And Debbie's like,
Thank you.
and the text is hilarious that she sent me. I've saved it. She's like, will you please talk to Bryan because Jerry's trying to hunt and he can't concentrate. He can't get a moose if Bryan keeps calling him like this, but he feels bad because he's trying to help Bryan. And
He's going through a lot. Yeah.
anyway, I was like,
A lot of
well,
stuff.
old friends are the best. So give him my number. And I'm not kidding. I was still texting Debbie and Bryan Drollinger came across my phone and I dropped my phone and I was like a time warp. I'm like, that was the phone call from 1989. No, it's going to make me tear up right now because it was just like, how is this happening? What
It's so
is
weird.
going on? We've had so many weird little
Yeah.
divine little God
Thoughts.
winks. The stuff in the book, that's just a little bit. There's been way more. For example, really quick. So Bryan's mother was passing away. So we decided to get married in Arizona. We booked the venue. I sent it off to my parents, the address, because they had to fly down from Utah. And my mom calls me and she's like, Jenny, you're not going to believe this. I was like, yeah. See, I was born in Mesa and my parents had a farm and a ranch. And my mom said, the villa that you're getting married at is the same street you were blessed and christened at as a baby. The church is just blocks down from where you guys are getting married, and your
Crazy.
dad's dairy farm was just down the road a little further. So, do you know how many times we drove up and down that road with you as a baby? I was like, no. It's just, it gives me goosebumps. It's
Just
just
like
stuff
all
like that all the time. So finally, when I was like, this is so weird, my mom says, no, it's divine. It was meant to be. You can't question all of this. And then how in the heck did two best friends end up marrying two best friends? And it's like the four of us. So we went to Europe this last September for our 40-year anniversary. And it was weird because we're on the cruise ship and Jerry's like, we're like, this is so weird that we're together and we don't have to ask our parents' permission. It was like a time warp.
And I just love that you two were able to be part of the story. And when you're both sharing, like talking about, courtrooms and, divorce and bringing up those emotions and Jim, relationships and then guitar playing, it's like you guys were meant to be part of the story too. Like it just ended up, I love how it's all worked out. So we appreciate it. We love it. The audiobook is available now. So you can go and listen to it. And I'm going to listen to it once again because it's just amazing. So thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this.
Absolutely.
Thanks
It
a
was a
lot.
joy to do.
And it's love that gets me